Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
I have a name for you.
Oh.
Gertrude Hurlbutt.
Oh, Gertrude Hurlbutt?
Which is a real name, real person. Do you have any idea who that is?
I have no idea. I've never heard of the Hurlbutt clan. I've been a Gertrude in my life, but I've never come across a Hurlbutt in my
So
days.
check this out. Gertrude Hurlbutt, in 1926, she entered the winning name in a contest to give the invention of Charles Davis and William Foster life. What was that invention, you ask? Only the name which describes the recreational and competitive activity known as skeet shooting.
Oh, Gertrude Hurlbutt is the one who said, you should call it skeet shooting.
They had a contest. So, yeah, apparently, I don't even remember the whole, not that I remember this. I looked this up. Thanks, Wikipedia. So skeet shooting, and this is international. It's an Olympic sport. It's where participants using shotguns attempt to break clay targets mechanically flung into the air from two fixed stations from a variety of angles. So this originated in 1920. These avid hunters, Davis and Foster, they created this game, which back then was informally called shooting around the clock. As you can imagine, it was a little dangerous because instead of it being one direction, they were in the middle of the clock and they shot around the clock. So let's just say, don't do that. But here's the deal. Why do I bring this up? So there is a command that the shooter issues when they are ready for the clay to be released. And some shooters call, maybe they say ready or they grunt, or I guess in American culture right now, they say hup, but none is more ubiquitous than the popular phrase pull.
Yeah.
Meaning you pull the lever that the person then sends the clay pigeon into the air. Why would I bring up such ridiculous trivia?
Because in the modern context, to the youth of today, skeet has a very different meaning. One we can't talk about on this show. If you want to find out what that is, don't look it up at work. Because here we are at minute 56 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, director Jon Favreau. And we're in the midst of Tony Stark's last party. Things are getting off to a weird start here, and so, but as we pick up where we left off, which is Pepper's trying to talk Tony down, to get him to maybe get out of the really expensive murder suit around all the people
in front of 100 people, in the guests of his own home. Yeah,
that might be a good idea. That maybe he should not be drinking and urinating in front of everyone.
Well, just maybe. While he moves in for a smooch.
That's right. That's right. He's going for it. So, yeah, we had the last minute with him asking for another smooch. I think it was, give me another smooch. Yeah. And so now Pepper is going, you're not going to be happy about this. And Tony's completely ignoring her, as is part of the course. Come on, you want to. And Pepper goes, you just peed in the suit. Yeah. The only adults in the room. And then, Rhodey's there too, but I guess it's so two adults. And then Tony's like, I know, it has a filtration system, which is like, oh, well, we're learning some things about the suit that we didn't know before. So
that's nice welcome to hear, but I just want to say, dude, you're not the Mariner. It doesn't. It doesn't. All apologies to Kevin Costner.
That's right.
Anyway.
You caught me.
That got you.
That was good. That was really good.
I had that one ready.
And Pepper says, which we're all thinking, which is, it's not sexy.
Yeah, no,
and Tony says, you could drink that water.
Oh, boom.
Because we learned from Fight Club, urine is sterile. So Pepper says, just send everybody home, okay? It's time to. And Tony says, if you say so. And for a minute, she's like, oh, good, I got through to him.
Crisis averted.
Woo! That was a close call, but I think things are going to be fine. And she takes she exchanges the microphone for the bottle. She says, okay, I'll take this. You take that. And then so Tony then turns to address the crowd. it's such a, I gotta say, I mean, as much as you can read into this, Robert Downey Jr. does a really good drunk Tony.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh. So there's this Pepper Potts. Such a great.
And then there's
like, ladies
there's
and gentlemen, Pepper Potts.
and there's like two people clapping, right?
Yeah,
and
like,
Rhodey's not even one of them.
Yeah. I just came here because of the Evite.
Yeah.
And Tony says, she's right. The party's over. Then again, the party was over for me like an hour and a half ago. And at this point, and Pepper's like, oh, no.
No.
He's like, the after party starts in 15 minutes. And if anybody, Pepper, doesn't like it, there's the door. And so as he turns and gestures with the Iron Man suit on, he accidentally fires the repulsors and shatters the window behind that sculpture. So a couple things I learned in the commentary about this exact shot is that he originally, Jon Favreau originally wanted Iron Man to blast the statue, but they were not allowed to. They were allowed to use the statue and had rights to put it on there, but they could not do anything, even fictionally, to damage it. Like it had to be seen there. And apparently, those people are much smarter than we had anticipated, because right after its appearance in this film, that sculpture sold for $150 million to an anonymous donor. So there's so I imagine there is a really, really well-appointed bathroom somewhere out there on a yacht. Maybe
in the Mediterranean coast.
Maybe Bezos is hanging his towels on that.
Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Okay, so wait.
Yeah, so
that's
they
incredible.
wanted the shot to actually blast the sculpture.
Well, okay, I was going to say, because when you see this, it's an incredible shot of the sculpture with the big staircase window, floor to ceiling that is shattered. However, creatively, that would have been amazing had he blasted the statue.
Yeah, like had the head fall off.
Well, but the idea that here is this statue that is depicting a human made of iron, maybe an Iron Man being destroyed by the own carelessness of the other Iron Man.
Yeah, and that we know it's art, and that
exactly
it's been destroyed by his recklessness. Yeah,
exactly.
Thematically, it would have been really, really powerful. So I understand why he wanted to do it. But I also get their point of view too, because they don't want to see like the beautiful thing that they were being paid to show being destroyed. Maybe it would make them very, very sad.
That's pretty funny. Jeez, seriously.
So Pepper storms off, and then we see Tony continuing the party. So he decides he's going to do what you were talking about, do his own version of skeet shooting indoors with champagne bottles.
Well, and okay, and when this happens, so we go from as soon as he smashes the glass, of course we get a crowd shot of all the scantily clad ladies who are here, and the men
people
too.
Who have been swimming, apparently.
Right, people have been swimming. They're all excited, and then Tony pulls this just a rage pose. Yeah. Like he gets down in a crowd, it's almost like he's a sumo wrestler, and he just lets out this guttural primal roar, and it really gets you. It's almost like what you would think roid rage. You know what I mean? When you think of those things, it's so we'll see. We'll have a couple of moments of this in the next few minutes where it's just hitting the carnage that is going on in him. Right? I mean, I think it's just showing that he's out of control. It's scary. Because especially for a guy, to be a guy in a suit like that, being, seemingly really getting lost in the party. And it's it's exciting, but also, he has enough firepower to just murder everyone. Everybody in the room. and I think it's even sad too, is that in this situation, the two responsible adults in the room have looks of horror on their faces to this.
Yeah. Because
it says something.
What the heck are you gonna do when it's like he's running around with a loaded gun? What do you Okay, the de-escalation did not work. I need to find something else. So we have that, and we have one of the partygoers steps forward to be the. I don't know what
the puller.
The official
the puller.
What is the official thing that launches the clay pigeons? I don't know.
It's the puller.
So this is Anya Manskova. She has 43 credits on IMDb. She is a model/actress, meaning she started out as a model and then became an actress as things went along. She had her first credits are on things like The Tonight Show and Deal or No Deal. She was one of the Howie's Beauties. I can't even remember, that show was a long time ago. But she was really one of the briefcase
handlers.
I think they had a title, but I can't remember what it is.
It wasn't
research fail. But then she was in she's had some time on a couple of different CSIs. I thought it was funny. She played on 2 different CSIs, playing 2 different characters because they just assume nobody watches both shows. I don't know. She was also on the Knight Rider remake. Do you remember that from like 2008?
Where they replaced the Firebird with a Mustang?
Yeah.
And that was the end of that. That's all I remember from
that. Lasted a year. So then after this film, then she went on to do Melissa and Joey, episodes of Ray Donovan and SWAT. And this is where I thought this may be stretching a little bit, but like there's been another film that has been parallel to this film, and we have another connection to it. So she's married to Josh Fritz, who is a computer, he's a CGI artist. He was a 3D modeler on Amazing Spider-Man.
What?
Yet another Amazing Spider-Man connection to Iron Man 2. Isn't that unusual?
Oh, yeah.
These things keep coming up.
Wow.
I don't know.
I want to say small world, but I think it's more devious than that. I think.
Well, Hollywood, I guess, is a small town anyway.
Yeah.
So then we see that Rhodey finally is just like, oh, I've had enough of this, and then storms out. But we don't actually get to see where he ends up. I think the last part of this minute, I think, is him going down the stairs.
Well, we see him going down the stairs, and we see the reflection of the Hall of Armor. So we know that he's going
down to the basement,
workshop.
And that is where our minute comes to an end. But this is not the only version of this scene.
No,
because Jon Favreau talks about in the commentary that this scene, like all these, the party, was the most difficult scene to do in the entire movie. And they took many, many tries at it and many, many edits to try and get this exactly right. And so they actually put out a little bit of what the party was. So if you want to see the scene, it's called Extended Tony Stark's Birthday. You can find it on YouTube. I think it's on Disney Plus as part of their things. It's on the DVD and the Blu-ray. And even now, there's even now a 4K version too, but I don't know if that has deleted scenes on it or not.
Wait.
This
deleted scene is on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So in this, you get to see there's a very different version of this. First of all, one of the shots from the trailer is actually in this lead scene, which is Black Widow in a different dress than we've ever seen her in, barely cuddling up to Tony Stark. Like basically he's behind her and she's got her back to his chest and she has the Iron Man gauntlet on and is aiming at something. That's in all the trailers, but it was never in the movie. Well, this is where it actually fit into, because in this version, the first thing we see is the two of them stuck together and they're having like this very sort of like risque conversation. You don't know what they're talking about when it turns out that they're talking about the fact that she's wearing the gauntlet. And so he's having her blast an ice sculpture. We see Natalie wearing an outfit we have not seen her in before, or we'll see her in after, a sort of a leopard print dress. And it's a little trashier, tackier than what we've seen her in before.
It's a different kind of club.
Yeah.
You'd be wearing that in a different
very
place.
True. I mean, it makes me think that there was a very different version of Natalie that was in the early cut of Iron Man 2. And so they have this scene, and then Pepper shows up and she's carrying a gift because it's Tony's birthday. So she brought him a birthday present. And of course, she hands it to him, and he doesn't like to be handed things. So that was already, they had, at this point, had figured out that there was a recurring bit to be had here. And it's just a very, this whole thing is, Tony is really trashy and gross through this whole thing.
Yes.
And I can see exactly what Mr. Favreau was talking about in that, like, oh, I don't like this at all. Like, I don't this. I mean, he's really scuzzy in this.
No, in fact, it goes over the line. Like we've talked about, obviously, Tony is compromised. That's the whole theme here, right? As we continue to go, he is compromised both emotionally, chemically, even physically.
Yeah.
This, though, he's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, you'll watch this scene and you'll just go like, no, this is too far. Like, immediately watching it and you say to yourself, nope, too far. You've made it to where you're bordering on the character not being redeemable.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did, why they had to go back and redo the stuff. Because from what I can tell, it's not in the same place. So this was before DJAM, Mr. Goldberg actually got involved. He was part of the reshoots because he's nowhere to be seen in this deleted scene. Then we have Pepper, and they have the awkward conversation, and like Natalie has the whole thing talking about how physically close she's physically attached to Tony because of the gauntlet. It's attached to his chest, like there's cords running out, and so she can't move. And so like, oh, I'm attached to you now, and like that kind of thing. And so then Pepper finally just takes her present and goes to stomp away. And that footage is in the movie. So after she leaves Tony and walks away, her walking by and then encountering Rhodey, they use that in there. And like we were talking about in the last minute, you can see the gift at the bottom of the frame, like the bow of it pops up a little bit. Because so in this, obviously Pepper, they kept her in. They wanted to use some of the footage, so they kept her in the same outfit. Everybody else is in totally different outfits. Tony, also, which we didn't talk about, is in a very different, like black and red suit, very slick. And so then she encounters Rhodey. Well, then when she says like, "Oh, I gotta go" or whatever, and then immediately in the movie it cuts back to like the two of them talking. Well, in this one she keeps going and Rhodey goes after her. They have a different conversation down there too, because as they come around the corner, then we see Tony has found another girl and on there and. Oh, look, it's Olivia Munn. So this was Olivia Munn's original cameo, and she is has the guns on, and she is actually hovering above Tony. She's wearing a small black dress, which actually is important to the plot. I'm not saying that just because for fashion reasons. Right. And so she is like using the guns to like hover over him while still connected to him by the cords, because it's running off of the arc reactor in his chest. And so Rhodey comes up to him sort of like, what are you doing? And so Tony is just being, gross and, party Tony the whole time.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And so as they have this conversation, and she's playing Rebecca, which is interesting because that character name will show up again here in the next couple of minutes. But they also say probably the most disgusting line in any Marvel movie. That's one of those things you have to like. The more you think about it, you go, "Oh no!" So I'm not even going to repeat it here. It's really bad.
It's bad. It's really bad.
And so like that would, even Paramount would have been like, "Oh no!"
Star-Lord may
exactly.
blushed.
Yeah,
he would have
exactly.
blushed.
That I would put right next to that, as in terms of like you have to think about it, then you go, "Oh
no!"
Yeah. So then we see Rhodey then just the same kind of thing. He gets really frustrated with Tony and then walks away and stuff too. So there and as we'll go along, there are other allusions to other scenes as these couple minutes go by for the rest of the party. But even just from these couple glimpses, we get to see a very different party atmosphere, way darker and grosser and weirder than the one we actually got. So you can see that this was always a work in progress. And so what we got is better. Is it the best? No. But knowing where they came from, I can see like, oh, okay, so this is evolution along the way.
Well, okay, so here's a couple things that are really interesting about this. Not only if you love the MCU, but also just in movie making.
Yeah.
Really shows you the journey that sometimes scenes and entire character arcs go through in the development of a movie.
Yeah.
Because this is radically different for both those characters, for Natalie Rushman and for Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And wow, this is why movies cost a lot of money. One of the reasons. You got to go back and reshoot like whole things because you realize this no longer works. Some other things that I find interesting. It also shows you, even though it's not a good scene, it's not good for the characters. Mm-mm. I do love, though, how it continues to build on the risks that Tony is taking. So, you open with the scene of Natalie with one gauntlet on, and that's connected directly to the arc reactor in his chest. Then it goes to Olivia Munn. She's got them both on.
Yeah.
He's upping the irresponsibility. Like, I do like the fact that, we're building on this in just a few minutes. Okay, but I also think it's crazy in that you see him, and when it has the scene where she's hovering overing him and he's talking to Rhodey, you can see how he's unbuttoned his shirt just enough to where the arc reactor is sticking out because he doesn't want the crossword puzzle digital stuff showing. And how he's got the both things just plugged into the sides of the arc reactor, which one I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah.
He can charge his phone, like he can just put his phone and charge it up to his chest. But just the risks, just seeing all that, like, yeah, if you're Rhodey, you're looking at this and going, dude, no, we're done. You have crossed all the lines. This is horrible. Again, I understand what they were trying to do. You can't go too far though. Like when you're gonna have the story of a troubled hero.
Yeah.
You can't make them unredeemable. It goes bad. And that's why this is not in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It is a very, very fine line you have to walk between like dangerous and then irredeemable. And because just like you talked about before with having the last scene with Tony and Rhodey together, leading to this scene, you have to set it up so that Rhodey is heroic in this, but you can't make Tony a villain.
Right.
So it's a very, very difficult balancing act. So then, as we'll see more as the party develops here. But that is where our minute comes to an end. We have our own Facebook group. It's called the Marvel Movie Minute and Next Real Film Podcast Executive Lounge. You just have to ask to join because we're trying to keep out the bots and the weirdos. Facebook.com/groups/the next reel. All right, so that wraps up our 56. We'll be back here for 57 as we see Rhodey take this party management into his hands. So we'll be back here for minute 57 as we see Rhodey assume the role of Evander the Reprimander. Do not miss it. Enough said.
Bye.
It's Chester the Molester, what I'm thinking, but that's wrong.
Chester the Molester. Jesus. Oh, hold on.
That was when I was a kid.
No, we got to get it because it was good.
Yeah.
Don't be Evander the Reprimander. Just
Evander the Reprimander.